how do you, in such a compressed window, considering the various trajectories of young quarterbacks in this league, some take off immediately, some take a couple of years. How in that short window this season can you guys, I guess, make as accurate of an evaluation or projection on both Dillion and Shedeur while also balancing the assets you have next year?
Yeah, it's actually a great question, Daryl. That's what makes our job fun and hard. I'd say I just go.
When they get to going that's when I know she really don't know what the hell she talking about. When they get to going I'm telling you, bruh.
Go back to like the plan that we have in place for these guys when it comes to developing is acquiring as many valuable data points we can. Now we know these things take time. So what is that going to look like at the end of the year? I don't have a crystal ball to tell you, and I don't do well with hypotheticals, but I will say that every opportunity we will have to evaluate them, we will take. None of them is going to take, a back seat in how we plan and program for them with the reps that we have. And then from there, we'll see what the spring brings, and we'll evaluate all possibilities like we always do.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Buckle up, because Cleveland has once again set the football world on fire. The quarterback carousel never stops spinning for the Browns, and this time it's not just about what's happening on the field. It's about what's being said in those quiet, uncomfortable press rooms where the future of young quarterbacks gets decided without them even knowing. The Browns' assistant GM, Catherine Hickman, just stepped up to the mic, and the NFL community hasn't stopped buzzing since. When asked about Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, she tried to give that polished, executive answer, the type of answer where you hear plenty of words but walk away wondering if anything was actually said. And make no mistake, what she didn't say might be louder than what she did. Because in Cleveland, this story isn't just about developing quarterbacks. It's about survival. For Shedeur Sanders, for Dillon Gabriel, and maybe even for the Browns themselves. Now let's be real, the Browns are in a win-now mode. They're stacked, they're hungry, and they're holding not one but 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft. And while Hickman tried to hide behind her data points and her evaluation process, the real question is this. If you're Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel, how much does that future actually include you? And here's the kicker. They were spotted at the Ohio State versus Texas game, scouting Arch Manning. Yeah, Arch Manning. The Golden Boy quarterback everyone keeps waiting to live up to the family name. And guess what? He didn't look all that good. But still, the Browns were there, front row, taking notes. If you're Shedeur, if you're Gabriel, that has to sting. Because this is the Browns we're talking about. When this team gets a good quarterback, they either ruin him or run him out of town. And history says that carousel ain't stopping for anybody, not even Shedeur Sanders. So let me ask you all right here, right now, Cleveland Browns fans, Shedeur supporters, NFL diehards, do you really think Hickman and this front office believe in Shedeur Sanders? Or is this just another setup, another chapter in the long, painful history of Cleveland quarterback heartbreak? Because if you read between the lines of what Hickman said, it feels like the writing might already be on the wall. Now, let's break down that press conference. Hickman was asked the simplest of questions: how do you evaluate these young quarterbacks in such a short window? A fair question, right? And what did she do? She dodged. She hesitated. She filled the air with ums and us, like she was buying herself time. She leaned on words like data points and crystal ball. And while that might sound professional to some, to NFL fans who've been around this block before, it sounded like a whole lot of nothing. And here's the thing. Shedeur Sanders is not a spreadsheet. Dillon Gabriel is not a line on a graph. You don't measure a quarterback's future with data points. You measure it by leadership, by grit, by how he performs when the pressure's at its peak. That's something Shedeur has already shown at Colorado and something Gabriel has been fighting to prove since day one. But Hickman's answer didn't scream belief. It screamed caution. It screamed hedging bets. And that's where the controversy really begins. Because if the Browns are already looking at next year's draft, if they're already putting Arch Manning in their notebooks, what does that say about the future of these 2 young men? This isn't about competition anymore. It feels like it's about replacement. And let's not forget, the Browns front office didn't just stumble into that Ohio State versus Texas game. That was deliberate. The GM, the head coach, the owner, they all showed up together. That's a statement. That's an organization saying, we're watching. We're evaluating. And maybe we're not all that sold on what we already have. So again, I gotta ask you guys watching this, do you think the Browns are being fair to Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel? Or are they already planning to push them aside for the next shiny prospect? Because if history repeats itself, we already know how this movie ends. Now here's where it gets even more frustrating. While Hickman was talking, while she was dancing around the real answers, Shedeur Sanders was out there at practice. Grinding, putting in the work. But you wouldn't know it if you watched the Browns media clips. They barely show him. 15 seconds here, 14 seconds there. Blink and you'll miss it. But why are they hiding Shedeur Sanders? Why aren't we seeing the same full-length practice tapes we get of other rookies around the league? What are they so afraid of us seeing? Because here's the reality, Shedeur is different. He's got poise. He's got a natural calm under pressure. And let's not forget, he carries the weight of that Sanders name. Prime's son. A leader who has dealt with the spotlight his whole life. He doesn't shy away from it, he leans into it. And yet, Cleveland seems determined to keep his progress in the shadows. If the Browns can't even show us 30 seconds of Shedeur in action, what does that tell you about their confidence in him?
Are they serious about developing quarterbacks? I don't know. I wish I did know, but I don't know. Now, Shedeur Sanders was out in practice today, and for some eerie reason, they ain't really letting us see Shedeur like that. It's always like 16 seconds, 14 seconds. It's very, very short, which has been kind of hard to react to his practice footage, which I'm gonna still put a video out today about it. But yeah, man. This Kevin Savansky, what's this here?
Crew that's really the first great experience. Good job, Coach Day, and that crew that's really the first big time college football game I've ever been to. With all respect to the Penn Quakers, so it was fun for me to be able to take my boys down there. Had a blast. The show was rocking. It was very cool. Great experience. Good job, Coach Day, and that crew that's really the first big time college.
And let me remind you, this isn't just paranoia. This is the Browns. The team that has fumbled quarterback situations since the 90s. The team that had promising players slip through their fingers time and time again. The team that can't seem to figure out the most important position in the game. Do you trust this front office to finally get it right? Or is Shedeur Sanders just the next name in a long, tragic list of what could have been stories for the Cleveland Browns? Because this is real. If the Browns blow this chance with Shedeur Sanders, they may never recover from it. So here's where I want to pause and throw this to you guys. The fans, the ones who ride through every twist of this Browns roller coaster. Do you see Shedeur Sanders as the future of this franchise? Do you believe Dillon Gabriel deserves a fair shot too? Or do you think Hickman and the Browns are just biding their time until they use those draft picks to chase after Arch Manning or someone else? Because one thing's for certain, this storm in Cleveland isn't dying down anytime soon. And if history has taught us anything, it's that controversy like this doesn't just stay in the front office. It spills onto the field. So let's keep it rolling, because this story doesn't stop at Catherine Hickman's words or at the limited practice clips of Shedeur Sanders. No, this goes deeper, straight into the soul of what the Cleveland Browns have been for decades. Let's talk Arch Manning. The Browns GM, head coach, and owner didn't just casually stroll into that Ohio State versus Texas game for fun. They weren't there to enjoy the crowd. They were there on business, scouting Arch Manning. And while Hickman gave us all those buzzwords and non-answers, the presence of that front office at that game said it all louder than any press conference ever could. Here's the reality, Arch Manning didn't look all that great. Honest truth. He hasn't yet lived up to the weight of the Manning name. But that didn't stop the Browns from watching, from thinking, from planning. And that right there is the problem. Because this is the truth. When a front office starts looking over your shoulder, they're not looking at you anymore. They're looking past you. And if you're Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel, you have to wonder, am I really in this team's long-term plan? Or am I just the placeholder until they bring in their chosen one? Now let's get even more controversial. The Browns are holding 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft. That's not a coincidence. That's a chess move. That's a front office saying, we want the power to go get who we want. And history shows us that when Cleveland wants something, they'll burn through whoever's in their way to get it. So let me ask you all again, what's the end game here? Do the Browns actually want to develop Shedeur Sanders? Do they want to give Dillon Gabriel a shot? Or are they simply preparing to press the reset button one more time and throw both of these young quarterbacks into the same pile of broken Cleveland dreams? Because remember, this team has been cursed at quarterback since the 90s. Think about it. Couch, Quinn, Manziel, Mayfield, the list goes on. Every single time, it ends in disaster. Either the QB flames out, the team ruins him, or they just can't make it work. And when they finally had someone promising, they let him go. This needs to stick. The Browns' Achilles heel isn't their defense, it isn't their ownership, it's their inability to find, keep, and believe in a quarterback. So what happens now with Shedeur Sanders? Here's where things get eerie. Reports are saying that while Gabriel and Shedeur are both technically in the Browns' plans, Shedeur is the one they're strangely protecting. They're not cutting him. They're not hiding him on the practice squad. They're not even letting trade talks get close. But what's the play here? Is it because they see Shedeur as a long-term project? Or is it because they don't want to look foolish if he blows up somewhere else? Think about it. If the Browns move off Shedeur and he becomes a star, that's the type of mistake a front office never lives down. They'd be roasted in headlines for years. So maybe they're holding on to him for safety. But if that's the case, then are they really investing in him? Or are they just hoarding him, like a team afraid to admit they don't know what they're doing? And this is where it gets personal. Because Shedeur Sanders is not just any quarterback. He's the son of Deion Prime Sanders. He's been built for the spotlight. He's been trained for pressure. He's been doubted before, and every single time, he's come back stronger. So when Cleveland hides him in 15-second clips, when they talk about data points instead of progress, when they scout Arch Manning like Shedeur doesn't even exist, it feels disrespectful. It feels like they don't see the fight this young man is bringing to the table. And that's why I gotta throw this back at you, the audience. Do you believe the Browns truly see Shedeur Sanders as their future? Or are they terrified that if they don't draft another quarterback, they'll miss out on the next Manning or the next big prospect? Let's talk about Dillon Gabriel for a moment too, because this young man's getting caught in the crossfire. He's working. He's battling. And yet even when we talk about the Browns' quarterback situation, Gabriel always feels like the afterthought. Hickman barely mentioned him. The media barely shows him. It's all Shedeur, or it's all the next guy they might draft. And that's the tragedy here. Because Dillon Gabriel deserves respect. He deserves to be treated like more than just a body-filling reps at practice. And yet, in Cleveland's endless carousel, that's exactly what he looks like. Another name soon to be forgotten. So again, the question, how can you build a winning franchise when you refuse to commit to the guys you already have? This is as real as it gets. You can't win in the NFL if you're always chasing the next quarterback. You have to believe in the one you've got. And right now, it doesn't feel like Cleveland believes in anybody. Now let's talk about Kevin Stefanski. The head coach tried to play it cool, talking about how much fun it was taking his boys to that Ohio State game, giving props to Coach Day and that whole crew. But we all know what was really happening. This wasn't about family fun. This wasn't about enjoying the atmosphere. This was a scouting trip, plain and simple. And Stefanski knows it. You don't bring the GM, the owner, and your staff out to see Arch Manning unless you're serious about evaluating. And that's why Browns fans should be nervous. Because when this front office starts moving in unison like that, it means decisions are being made behind closed doors. And history says those decisions rarely work out for the quarterbacks already in Cleveland. So let me throw this to you one last time, because this is the heart of the matter. Should Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel get the time to prove themselves? Or should the Browns hit reset yet again and chase another quarterback dream that may never pan out? Because one thing's for sure, this team is running out of excuses. And let's close with this, because it needs to be said. For decades, the Cleveland Browns have been haunted by the same ghost. The ghost of quarterback instability. And every single time they say they've learned, every single time they say they're committed to a guy, they turn around and break that promise. But here's the twist. This time, they might already have the answer in their building. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another quarterback. He's a young man built for the biggest stage. He's got the leadership, the toughness, and yes, the swagger to handle the weight of Cleveland on his shoulders. And if the Browns are smart, they'll stop looking for data points, they'll stop scouting Arch Manning like he's the savior, and they'll finally do the one thing this franchise has never been able to do: believe in the quarterback they already have. Because if they don't, if they let Shedeur Sanders slip through their fingers, then this franchise may never escape the curse. The Browns don't just have a quarterback decision to make, they have a destiny to rewrite. So I'll leave you with this question, audience. If you were running the Cleveland Browns today, what would you do? Do you ride with Shedeur Sanders and finally commit to stability? Or do you risk it all on yet another draft pick and hope history doesn't repeat itself? Drop your answers in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started. And before you go, if you want more deep dive breakdowns like this, more controversies, more cinematic storytelling about the NFL's biggest headlines, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe right now to Gridiron Insights. We're on the road to 20K, and with your support, we'll keep bringing the truth straight to your screen every single day. Until next time, shake off the noise, stand tall with Shedeur, and remember, in Cleveland, the carousel never stops turning. Peace out.